Hello everyone. In this video, we discuss and analyze this pawn race. A pawn race is when both of the sides are trying to promote with a passed pawn, and both of the sides have the chance to promote. But one of the sides usually has the advantage, either because they're promoting first or they're promoting with a check, or maybe because they can stop the opponent's passed pawn from promoting while their passed pawn cannot be stopped. Now, let's see. We have to compare the two passed pawns that are on the chessboard, the white passed pawn and the black passed pawn. Now, let's see first the squares of the passed pawns, because it matters a lot in all our calculation if the opponent's king is inside the square of the passed pawn or not. Remember, we said that to draw the square of a passed pawn, we need to draw a diagonal in the direction of the promotion rank, of course, and in the direction of the opponent's king, and complete a square with the passed pawn. Now, if the opponent's king is inside that square, like the white king is now in that square, it means that the white king is going to be able to stop this pawn and capture it if the pawn is just pushing forward and the king is just getting closer to the pawn. Now, how about the white pawn? If we draw the square of the white passed pawn, so it's going to be here. And right now the black king is not in the square. Only if it's black's turn, black can just capture that pawn and win it. Otherwise, if it's white's turn and white just pushes the pawn forward, our new square is going to be even smaller, and black king is not going to be able to be in it. Now, let's see. What does this mean? This means that we have the advantage in which way our king is in the square of the black's passed pawn. So we can just go and capture that pawn. But right now, if I just go with my king to capture that pawn, if I just make a king move to capture that pawn, black is going to capture my pawn as well. And after a few moves, we also capture the black pawn, and it's going to be a draw. Now, let's go back. But white does not need to hurry here. White king is already in the square of the black's passed pawn. This means that first, we can push our pawn and save it, and then when it's needed, we can go and try to capture the black pawn. Now, I also want to see what would happen if we don't move our king at all. We just push our pawn. Each side starts pushing the pawns. What's going to happen then? Now, let's see. If we push and black pushes, it's clear that we're going to promote at the same time. White's going to promote first, which is good usually, but then here it's a special position because black is promoting next, but with a check. Now, what will this mean? This will mean that, of course, we should be careful after the check, because we shouldn't move to a square where our king and queen can be skewered. And in addition, this means that black is not going to lose this game. At least black is going to keep on checking. That's going to be a perpetual check. If we try to stop with our queen, it's just going to be a draw. So white is not going to be able to win this. So if we need to win this endgame, we need to change something. And that change is going to be done by our king. I want to remind everyone that the king is becoming the most important piece in the endgame. So we must use it, especially if we have the opportunity like here. Now, why does the king become the most important piece in the endgame? First of all, because we don't have any other pieces, right? So what other piece should we use but the king to help our pawns to promote? And second, we don't need to worry about being checkmated, because our opponent has very little number of pieces and pawns at the endgame, and they cannot checkmate our king. So we don't need to worry about it. We can just use it as a piece that can help our pawns, especially in pawn end games, to promote, or in general in all end games, we can use our king to help our pieces in the end game. So let's see. Then we can decide that our first move should not be with the king, because I don't want to lose my pawn. At the same time, I don't want to move the king to protect my pawn. There's no need to waste a move on that, because black is going to use this move to push the pawn before us, right? So we don't want to do that. So let's go back. So what we need to do to save our pawn is to push our pawn. Now, we push the pawn. If black also pushes the pawn, we saw that if we keep on pushing the pawns, we're promoting at the same time. White promotes first and then black promotes, but with a check. We don't want that. So what we need to do is we need to make a difference in this position, and we're doing that with our king. Now let's see how. Our king should go and capture that black pass pawn. And now the square of the pass pawn, if we draw it, it's going to be here. And to capture that pass pawn, surely white needs to move to e4 in the square of the pass pawn. Now let's see. Here, if black tries to capture our pawn, of course, we're not going to keep on moving towards the black pawn to capture it, because we don't need to worry about the black pawn. We're already in the square of that pass pawn with our king. All we need to do is move away our pawn and again, keep the square away from the black's king, and black king won't be able to capture our pawn. Again, anytime the black king tries to capture our pawn, we just push our pawn. We don't need to waste a move and waste our pawn trying to capture the black pawn. Now, and if black tries to push the pawn, that's when we can try to go and capture it if needed. And even at this point, I don't think it's even going to be needed, because at this point when the black king is on b4, even if we just keep on pushing pawns, it's going to be okay for white, because white is promoting with a check, and after the check, white can just capture the black pawn and win this endgame. So if we go back, okay, what happened to our position? So here we are. So if we go back, we can say that in this pawn race, we had to be careful, first of all, about not losing our pawn. And second, we need to take advantage in this position and in general of the fact that our king can be in the square of the opponent's passed pawn and can make a difference in the position for us to win.